Here's a quote from Victoria Beckham. I'm a very spiritual person. I travel with my crystals. I've got all different colors. It's just something I'm into. I am quite a superstitious person. I don't walk under ladders. And if I see a magpie, I salute. Now, I don't know if she thinks that these rocks are magical, but there is absolutely no scientific evidence that verifies crystals have any magical healing powers whatsoever. You don't believe me? I'm a geologist, and I want to hear from you. If you believe in magic healing rocks, then call us because the show is starting right now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Truth Wanted. I am your host, Kelley Laughlin, and this is a live call-in show that happens every single Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And if you'd like to, you can call us at 1-512-991-9242 or through your computer at tiny.cc/call-TW. Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And I have with me today Infidel64. You may have seen him on the nonprofits. Hi, Infidel. How are you?
Hey, Kelley, I'm doing pretty good. Excited to be here, especially with you. So I'm looking forward to the calls we're going to get and what kind of fun we're going to have.
I'm hoping we have a lot of it. I really am. So how long have you been doing the nonprofits now?
Oh, well, my first episode was actually in May, and I really enjoyed it and been doing it ever since and look forward to doing many more. We touched on some really important topics that might not necessarily come in on a call-in show, but get to do a little deeper dive in some things that are really important and need to be addressed. And I think we do some important issues, and it's always fun to get that out and communicate and exchange ideas with other people.
What do you think is your favorite story that you've covered on the nonprofits?
Well, I guess to answer honestly, I'd have to say that my favorite story would be Moms for Liberty. They are just an absolutely despicable group of people, and I enjoy pointing out the hypocrisy of these type of people, especially when you see them quoting Hitler on their website. That's kind of a gimme that's a bad idea. Talk about short-sighted, but then again, Moms for Liberty, it's almost guaranteed that what they're talking about is not going to be liberty for not other people, just them. So that was probably my favorite story.
Cool. Yeah, I really like doing the nonprofits. That's probably where most people would know me from too, because I do feel it is we're really talking about important things that are happening all around the world, and especially here in the United States. We talk a lot about a lot of things that are central to this country, and I think it's important for people to learn a lot of stuff that we do talk about. So, what led you to be here with us tonight?
Well,
I guess how I should have framed that is how did you get involved with the ACA?
Well, I've listened to watched content for a very long time. I first ran into the ACA Atheist Experience on while it was still on cable public access when I lived in Austin, and went through, enjoyed it. I was still semi a believer at the time, and honestly, the first time I saw them, it was more of a, who are these clowns? What's going on here? But I listened and put it in the back of my mind. And as I started deconstructing, I'm like, oh, maybe I should pay attention to them. So I started watching them, and of course, life went on. And then I got back and saw them started watching them a few years ago back on YouTube. Had a lot of catching up to do, so I did. It kind of went from there, and then in February there were tryouts, and I tried out, and they said, "Hey, you're almost good enough to be a Kelley." So yeah, we'll put you on.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now you see, you just threw me off. I had another question for you, and it totally got out of my mind. Oh, I do want to do some phone calls, but one of the things that we normally do before the phone calls is the We Want the Truth segment. And I thought maybe we should go ahead and do that because it always has some really good, funny answers. And yeah, let's do that. Do you want to do the first off, we had a caption contest last week, and hopefully we'll get the picture up there that we were supposed to caption. There it is. And Infil, would you like to read number 3s?
Well, I have to say that Dan and J Mike take a call with a gotcha question. If J Mike comes from the Duggards, and why are there still Duggars? As far as why, that I think that's a question that all of us ask. But
and that came from Caps Lock Pundit.
Yep. Sorry about that. Caps Lock Pundit.
Cool. And then number 2 was Brinstar Media, and their caption was, J Mike is trying to prove to God that he is the real hide and seek champion. I really like that one. I really do.
Well, you know, we all know he's good at the hiding part, and it seems that the people are good at the seeking part, but not so much the finding part.
Do you want to take the number 1?
Well, you know, I can take the number 1. But it says Dustin King, caption for J Mike plays peekaboo to teach Dan about object permanence. Yeah, well, I'm not sure how convincing either one of them are there. They both look a little dubious.
All right. And the prompt for next week's We Want the Truth is going to be, what minor superpower would you want that only annoys people? Infidel, what superpower would you want?
I had to say that I would like the superpower to be able to, anytime I'm in a public situation and there's a sports game on and something's about to happen and someone's about to win or someone's about to score, just to be able to blink and the TV turns off to the vast disappointment of all the fans. Even if it's a game I like, it would still be worth it just to see the disappointment in their face.
I was thinking I'd like to summon and control one mosquito. You could really annoy somebody with that.
Yeah, with no doubt, I can enjoy that because, you know, as long as you could avoid, you know, have a very agile mosquito, I'm sure you could really piss somebody off pretty much incessantly. And my only problem is I have a rather long list of people that I might be interested in doing that to, but you know, I could do them one at a time.
So, I've been told that people can often catch you during the live shows at the end of the month. Is that true?
I haven't been in the last few months because of other things going on, and I won't be this month because I'm going to be out of town for my son's wedding, but near the end of the month. So, oh yeah, and I keep telling his wife to be that she could do better than him, but you know, she's not listening, so it's okay, and they'll do fine. So I'm really looking forward to it, seeing them and all that good stuff. But you know, other than that, yeah, it's not uncommon that I'm actually there in Austin. It's fun. It's a good time. I would have to say that anyone who's in the area who has an opportunity to do it, without a doubt, should go. You know, community is important, and the remote community is important as well. But being in person, there's something to be said about people being able to get together and know that you're dealing with people with like-minded issues and experiences, and to be able to share not only experiences, but to be able to share solutions and things that helped you. Because, you know, the truth is deconstruction oftentimes it's not you just quit going to church and okay, everything's done. It's an ongoing process. It's something you do for, well, I've been out 20 years and every once in a while I still find things that, is this religion tugging old or bad ideas, or do I have a good idea for that and a good reason? So it's always a good thing to see people and do that.
I think it's good too to share our experiences coming out of religion. You know, one of the things that churches do provide is a support group for each other. And we don't really have that we have that here at the ACA, but we don't have that everywhere. And I think it's really important that we do build community, that we do get together so that we can support each other through, especially people who are just coming out of it, for those of us who have already been through it and know what to expect and can maybe give them a guiding hand. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. I know that some of the people that I've met there, it's really been an enrichment, and I have to admit that every time I go, there are certain people I'm like, I really hope they're there. I look forward to talking to them, and don't get me wrong, I really enjoy watching the live streams go on and in person and the recordings, but also it's definitely the people, the in betweens, the after, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely plays a big role. So once again, if you're there, I would implore you, go. You won't regret it.
Yeah, the ACA has been a big bright spot in my life. I'm really grateful for it. I'm grateful for the things that they do. So, very much so.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Da da da. So, do you have any other projects that you're working on besides the nonprofits, or is that pretty much it?
Well, nonprofits is pretty much what I'm doing now. I've been talking to someone that you know a little bit, not a lot, but I'm really interested in recovering from religion. I think they do a lot of work, and I need to explore some possibilities there too, because I mean, that's a very vital service, and goes back right to that whole deconstruction and people needing that help, because it's a very real thing. I know that when I did it, I felt alone. I mean, I didn't even tell my wife for a year that I didn't believe, because as I did tell her that I'm coming to some conclusions, but if I tell you, we're going to have to get divorced, because I just couldn't imagine us being able to work that out. About a year later, though, she told me that uh, she didn't believe, so that made that real easy. So she did the hard work there. But and still, that's a process that just starts, and that's been a road since then. And people, even long out of it, I can imagine, still have to deal with those situations, and recovering from religion is just one more of those things that I think I really need to put more effort into getting involved in.
Awesome, awesome. Did your wife come out of it because of you, or did she just kind of take her own path?
Well, uh, we were raised in a very conservative sect. I mean, it was extremely conservative, and her dad was sick, and he was dying, and he made a comment that he failed God, and frankly, it was pretty much the last straw for her. And this is a man who was dedicated every bit of his life, spent almost a decade in sick, dying, and to think that his dedication ended up being I failed God was just something that pushed her to that limit of, you know what, I think this is all shit. And when she told me that, I told her, oh, you remember that conversation that I didn't have with you about a year ago? Well, I think so too. And so it just kind of flowed from there. So we both pretty much independently came to the same conclusion. Maybe I could just say she was obviously a little braver than I was at articulating it.
So I heard you were on the back cruise. How was that?
Well, it was really good, except there was this guy, Kelley. Man, if we could have managed, I mean, he was intimidating everybody. He was strong
I keep
arming,
hearing
and
stories about it.
it was rough. But other than that, it was an absolute blast. And I have to say that when I live in San Antonio, not that far away, and on our way home, we were already planning that next year we're definitely going, because it was so much fun. I knew it was going to be fun. Truth is, I didn't even care if the bats were going to be there. I was just wanting to meet people. The bats were a bonus. They showed up. That was awesome as well. I mean, it was just a good time all around. One thing I have to say good about that guy Kelley, though, is he did bring a Bible for everybody to sign. That was pretty cool.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I'm going to give it away to a random Patreon owner, a Patreon member, at the end of the year on December 30th. I'm going to have a drawing. If you have 4 Patreon accounts, you'll get 4 entries into the, like one for each show. And yeah, I'm going to give it away. And it was signed by everybody who was cast and crew that was on the back cruise. So it'll be kind of a fun thing. And all you got to do is become a Patreon member to be eligible to get it.
Well, I'd say
Thanks for mentioning that.
I probably shouldn't say this because this will probably decrease the desire for it, but Kelley even let me sign it too. So you got all the good people and me. So yeah, it's definitely something that would be very cool for somebody.
I actually had a lot of fun going around getting everybody to sign it. So that was great. Well, you know, this is a call-in show, so we should probably take some calls. But before we do, one of the things that we always do each week is give a shout out to one of our patrons, our patron of the week. And this week's patron is Linda Sherwood. No relation to Jason Sherwood, our crew member and producer here at ACA. So thank you, Linda Sherwood. We really appreciate it. You're wonderful, and you're also eligible to win that Bible.
Definitely. Patreon is definitely one of those places where people can support the ACA. And well, I hope we don't need to tell people the vital work that's being done here by people who dedicate a lot of time and effort to just so people like you and me can run our mouths. And
yeah, right.
A lot of things that go on.
Good. Yeah.
Well, you can do the looking good part. I'll just do the looking.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a call. We have Gavin in New York. How you doing, Gavin?
Hello?
It says you want to talk about ontology and the nature of origin.
Cheers. How are you guys tonight? Thanks for having me.
Good.
Pretty good.
So how do you want to approach it here?
This is the first time I stumbled across you guys. My wife found you. I actually was listening to something that I thought was live a few minutes ago for like the last 20 minutes, but come to find out it was just a recorded session. And I thought I was going to be talking to them, but I'm talking to you gentlemen, and that's beautiful. So I hung on here, and I just wanted to have a conversation and throw some ideas back and forth and get to know you guys.
Sure. Okay. So what did you have anything about ontology and the nature of origin that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I was curious. I'm safe to assume you guys being the atheist community of Austin, you guys are full-blown atheist evolutionists.
I accept evolution.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an evolutionist. I do accept it as a scientific reality. As far as atheists, I would say Kelley recently has helped convert me over to being an atheist. I don't think the concept of God really has any relevance or cogent meaning that we can really define to do it. But yeah, definitely an atheist.
Okay. Is it a possibility at all in either of your guys' mindsets that there may be a God, or is it 100% absolutely not?
I have no idea. I'm agnostic on the existence of God.
Yeah, same here.
I don't believe in one.
Okay, here.
Yeah, agnostic atheist. Now, if you were to mention specific gods, yeah, I can pretty much throw any god I've ever heard of before out for a very good reason. But when it comes down to a general concept of a classical god, yeah, okay, maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. No, definitely a specific Most High, a specific creator or creators, depending on the pantheon or whichever religion.
Do you believe in any gods?
Yes, I do. I actually keep Torah. I follow the Most High, Yud He Vav He. Some people say Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahovah, Yahuwah. I follow that God from the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. I believe he is the only Most High. I believe he is the fundamental foundation upon which we exist. And I believe all the other ones are counterfeits and tools of the enemy. Of course, would be the devil, Lucifer, Satan, working to keep people from having a relationship with the Most High, including evolution and atheism.
So you think that evolution is a work of the devil?
A faith. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it's one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it. My apologies.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. One thing I am curious about, you had mentioned a creator and creation. I was a little curious about that as well, because for me, I start getting uncomfortable when people say creation, because creation implies, of course, a creator, and I'm not convinced of a creator or creation. Now, obviously, we're here, but I was just curious about that particular kind of delve in there. What makes you believe? Is it strictly the Bible, or do you have something beyond the Bible and its claims that cause you to believe it?
So, absolutely. There's a number of different answers that I would love to give you, starting with, first and foremost, obviously the Bible, having that as evidence, one of the oldest texts that we have on this planet, right up there with the
the Vedas are older, and that's a different religion. Why would that validate Hinduism?
Yep.
Well, I don't know if you heard me say it, but that was actually, like I said, it's one of the oldest texts, right up there with the Vedas. It's
Yeah,
right
well,
up there
yeah,
with
I know, but hear me out, because earlier
Yeah.
you said all the other gods were false. But if the
Absolutely.
book of those gods are older than your book, wouldn't that make your God false to them?
Or at least increase the credibility of theirs more.
No, not
I mean, if we're just if we're just
necessarily.
using age as credibility for a book.
I'm not taking the stance, nor did I make the claim that age was credibility for a book.
Okay.
As
All right.
the ultimate truth. I'm simply pointing out the fact that if we go back and we look at some of the oldest texts, there is at least something that should be taken into account, as far as the fact that we do have something that wasn't created, let's say, less than 100 or a little over 100 years ago, like the Book of Mormon or the Jehovah's Witness variation on the New World Translation in Charles Taze, or going to marry Eddie Baker and Christian Scientists. I'm not a Christian, by the way, either. I'm just going to throw that out there so we can get that on the table. But the reason I brought up the fact, you asked me what were my reasons for believing in the proof and existence of a creator. And I was just simply sharing that the first thing is that we do have this Bible written down. I'm sure we would go back and forth, and we'd have to just leave it on the side that I believe that it was inspired by the Most High through men, writing it down, infallible, inerrant.
I think I look at the Bible as the claim and not the proof.
Yep.
So the Bible means not. It absolutely means nothing to me as any kind of proof of a God. It's the writing that's telling us that there's a God there, but it's not proving it.
Yeah, you can't use the Bible to prove the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sorry,
and I figured that's where you were going to go, which is why I was going to leave that one on the side.
Okay. So what you got?
Well, what's your best? What's your best besides the Bible then?
Well, I would first ask you, which is where I was hoping we were going to go. Looking first and foremost, I would say that it's based on faith. Both of our stances are based on faith. If you believe in evolution, you being an agnostic, specifically the gentleman,
I accept evolution.
I disagree with faith.
I accept evolution. I have looked at the evidence for it. I am a scientist. I have looked at the scientific evidence, and I accept it as being valid. I don't believe in it. I accept it as being valid.
And I can assure you that I don't have an altar to Charles Darwin in my house that I pray to. I accept the scientific facts as they come out, or the evidence, I should say. And of course, the great thing about it is if more evidence comes to show something is right or wrong, that's fine. But the truth is the reason that I'm not a Christian, I was raised a Christian. I was a believer for right at 30 years. And the reason that I'm not a Christian has absolutely nothing with evolution. I believed in evolution when I was a believer. So evolution didn't go either way. That doesn't shake my faith. And so if we took evolution and threw it away completely, that still wouldn't get me to a God. That would just get me to say, okay, well, I don't have any clue to how humanity got here, or the other speciation got here. It would tell me absolutely nothing about if there's a God and what I should do about that God, or what is important to that God for me not to. You mentioned the devil, so I'm presuming you believe in some type of hell. And so being able to avoid a punishment being very important, we can throw evolution out the window and say, okay, for the sake of discussion, it doesn't exist. So where's God? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So religion. Oh no, absolutely, without a doubt, I'm with you. And I would ask you this, right? You said you can't use the Bible to prove the Bible. So in the same essence, if you have evolution and you have a theory of evolution and you have the tenets of it, you're going to look at the specifics within the scientific field of evolution that you believe in, that you believe are true, that you believe.
We're going to look at DNA evidence. We're going to look at evidence of evolving species that are now evolving within our own time. Yeah, we're going to look at actual physical evidence that we can see. And we can't do that with the Bible. We can only read about something that happened supposedly thousands and thousands of years ago. So we can't see or test any of it. But we can do that with evolution.
And in fact, not only we have had predictions that certain things were going to happen, or there was things were going to be found, and ultimately, guess what? Those are found. Time and again, we find situations where we don't know the answer, and when there's conjecture, because there are a lot of things that we do not know. And that is one fundamental difference between me and my acceptance of evolution and the average faith of an average theist, because I'm willing to be wrong. If the evidence comes up, toss the bad evidence out.
Absolutely. So with that being said, if I could just finish one thought
or go ahead.
Share an idea here to get it into the ring with you guys. And I know the Bible doesn't count to establish itself, but I almost think you would agree that if a piece of something in the Bible was provable, verifiable, testable, observational, that we would have to give some credence to that thing that's being defined and spoken of. Would you agree with that?
Well, I would say that the Bible does have truth in it. There are things in the Bible that, without a doubt, are true. I mean, there are certain things that I would not even try to deny. Some of them a lot more dubious, but it would have to be something pretty damn special for me to go, oh, that's true in the Bible, therefore God. That's that disconnect. I can believe certain prophecies came true, whether they're written before or after the fact. I can give you the fact that maybe they were written before, because people do say, hey, this is what's going to happen, and they do happen. It's kind of like you don't count the losses, but that's reality. I can accept that, but it's that leap going from there to where's God? It's almost like where's Waldo hiding in the background? How do we find God? Because I would think that it would be a little easier to find, because believe me, the Bible says, seek and ye shall find. I looked diligently. I spent years of my life reading that Bible cover to cover every year, at least once a year after I was 13. But the bottom line is there was no God there.
Were you obedient to the Torah?
Well, I was raised in a very conservative Christian sect.
Okay, so
I didn't adhere.
Okay, so you didn't adhere. So we're specifically warned about that exact mindset in the Bible. So it's almost no wonder that you didn't find upon you seeking.
Have you ever heard of the no true Scotsman fallacy?
Yep.
Do you know what that is?
No true Scotsman.
The no true Scotsman fallacy.
No, I don't know. I don't know the name, but I might know the details, and I'll tell you if I do or don't after
you've just committed it. What you basically just told Infidel is that he wasn't a true believer.
Absolutely.
And to him, he was a true believer. So what you're doing is you're saying that of all the believers, only certain people, the ones that are just like me, are really the only true believers.
No, I'm not saying the ones that are just like me. What I'm saying is based on the tenets of the Bible and the actual.
And they're based on the way you're interpreting those tenets. So it's other people who are just like you interpreting them the same way. You're the only true believers, and all the other believers aren't believers.
And let me just say,
they're missing pieces. For instance, let me ask you.
Yes, exactly. You're saying they're not right. Exactly. You're saying they're not true believers, and that you're absolutely committing what's called the no true Scotsman.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I'm saying that the vast majority do not have it right. Absolutely. But in the same sense, you're also taking.
Do you know what a fallacy is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Gavin, let me say one thing.
It just surprised me that you were admitting to committing a fallacy. and thinking it was all right.
I'm not committing a fallacy. I don't have.
Yes, you're committing a no true
mistaken
Scotsman fallacy. You've done it like several times, 3 or 4 times now.
Why is your God making it so difficult?
Over and over.
But you're defining that and my reasoning towards it, but you're not giving me a chance to actually explain the reasoning.
Oh, you've said why? Because everybody else isn't interpreting it the right way. You've already told us why.
Well, I don't know about well, I didn't say everybody else. I said the vast majority. See, and I would think you guys would agree. Words are very specific, very detailed, very important. I didn't say everybody. I said the vast majority. So that's not a.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people are involved in your side and your group, and it doesn't matter how many people are true believers.
Well, let's take me. You just said I wasn't. I wasn't a true believer. So if we're going to go with I wasn't a true believer, let's take that. Let's use me as an example. We only need one. So let's go with that.
Perfect.
So if I wasn't a true believer, if I dedicated my life, if I read the Bible once or twice a year, every year from 13 to 30, and I dedicated time and effort, door knocked, spent all this time praying and desperately seeking for God, and he didn't show up because I ate bacon on a sandwich, that's kind of shitty already. But okay, so how do we reach people who, from your perspective, how do people be reached if you have to fit a certain mold before God will show himself to you? I mean, I was looking, but he sure was hiding.
Really simply, some people, he calls them in a multitude of ways. And I can't speak. I wouldn't even begin to be so presumptuous to speak on somebody's entire walk and what they did when people were watching and what they did when people weren't watching. I don't know. I don't have that ability to supernaturally read hearts and minds and to know the actions of each and every single person. But if you weren't obedient and you followed a doctrine that did not adhere to the obedience, which is spoken about over and over plainly from the very beginning to the very end. And I don't know the ins and outs and the details of your particular life, man. I have no idea how you conducted yourself, the things you were into, the things you did, the things that you did that you loved to do that went against his ways. I don't know any of those things. But if you sought him and you did not find him, well, it's really. And I was trying to go a different direction, but ultimately, your exact walk and mindset is spoken about clearly and blatantly from beginning to end. Those who don't follow the Torah, their prayers are an abomination. If you seek him and you're not following his righteous ways, and you're doing what you want to do, and you justify your actions, and you're good in your own eyes.
So he wasn't a true believer.
Yeah. So God's an asshole because when my children do wrong, it's my responsibility to say, hey, this is not the way you should be doing things. So if I was going out there in earnest, whether I was doing the complete wrong things, if I was going out there and earnestly seeking God, why wouldn't he meet me halfway? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you were in need, I don't even know you, but if you were in dire need and I was able to help you and reach out and assist you, I would do it. So, but God doesn't, and I don't even know you. But with my own children, that's a total different story. So it just seems kind of strange that God's playing hide and seek.
Well, he tells us many times that he's withdrawn himself from us because of our sinful ways.
When did he tell us that?
Mediator.
I missed the email.
I'm going to pull up the verses. Give me half a second.
No. I can pull up. I don't need you to read a verse. I know what you're talking about God getting pissy.
I'm still wondering when God talked to us. You're saying that he told us, but I don't hear him. I've never heard him talk, so he's never told me. And if you're going to quote the Bible again, that is just a claim. All I know is that was written down by men sometime in the past. I don't really know if it's the word of God or not. There's no way for me to know.
So do you believe that there's ultimately one truth regarding our existence?
No.
So how does that work? We just live in a land of make-believe?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no idea about the ultimate truth. As far as I know, there isn't one, because nobody, you'd think after 100,000 years of searching for it, we would have found it by now, but nobody's been able to find it. So I don't think it exists.
I didn't get an instruction manual tied to my toe when I was born. So I'm just left muddling through it like everybody else. And I can't pretend to know all the answers. I just have to go with the best I got.
Well, I mean, we're told that since the creation of the world, his invisible qualities have been clearly seen. But
no, we aren't told that. You are told that. You're
telling us that,
but we aren't told that. That's what I'm trying to get through to you. You're like you're acting like somebody came and like God came and told that to us, but no, he never did. He never did.
Well, he did. He had it written down in the book. Whether or not you read the book is a whole nother conversation.
The book. I have read the Bible. I have totally read it through.
Okay.
Me too.
But again,
so
the Bible does not prove that it is the word of God. It's just a book that was written down 2,000 years ago. I have no idea who wrote it. I don't know what kind of mindset they were in when they wrote it. It's the claim. It's the claim. It isn't the proof.
It was, some of it was more than 2,000 years ago, but either way, 2,000, 5,000, whatever, 3,000, whatever word we want to put there, the bottom line is it doesn't answer us.
The book of Job is what, 2,700 years old, I think, the oldest book.
Yeah, it's less than 3,000.
It goes, yeah, everything pre-Diluvian, the Great Diluvian. But my question to you, back to the other one before, if you're okay with this, if we could go back, I asked you, is there one truth regarding all of our existences? One truth. If it's true for you, it's true for me. However we got here, whether we spontaneously came about without intelligent design or we were intelligently designed, do you agree? And I'm going to ask the other gentleman because you already gave your answer. But do you agree that there is only one truth regarding our existence?
Well, I think that the truth regarding my existence, my parents are dead. So what position or how long it took them to achieve it, I really don't know. And frankly, I don't want to. But I'm sure that there might have been some, gods in there somewhere. But beyond that, I don't know. I mean, I think that between you, each and every one of us, the truth and reality of our existence is going to vary because we have different experiences. We live different lives. We're different people. Sure, we can share a common reality, but our experiences of that common reality are not the same. I experience something that you don't. Yeah, obviously, you do as well.
Not trying to be a jerk. I don't think either A, you're understanding, or B, you listened, or you're understanding or listening to the specific question that I'm asking. I'm not talking about your personal subjective experiences on this planet. I'm asking you very specifically, in terms of our ontology, the nature of existence, how we got here, the age-old question: how are we here? Why are we here? What are we doing? How did it come about? I'm asking if there's one truth, and I'll if you don't mind, I'd love to break down and ask you it a different way on a more tangible level. If I asked you, do you exist without the ground, any ground, period, as a fundamental foundation? You would say no, right? Is that a safe assumption? Can we find common ground there? No pun intended.
If you mean literally, do I believe that I'm standing on planet Earth and my feet touch the ground? Yeah, I would say that that's a reality. And for most people who don't die in infancy, that would be true for them as well.
Absolutely. And we could even say that the ones who died in infancy were attached by the umbilical cord to their mother, dependent on their mother's life, and the mother was attached to ground.
I don't see where this is going.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm willing to stipulate this if you can get to where you're going.
Yeah, let's skip all of this and get to your point, because I have other callers that we need to get to too. So I'm going to give. So let's try to get to the point right away.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. I'll wrap it up like this. It's really simple. You don't exist without the ground, neither do I. It's something we share. It's a common fundamental foundation. It's a thread that weaves us both together. It's true for you. It's true for me. We would call that an ultimate truth. Therefore, that is a truth of our existence, and it's true for one. It is true for all here. So when we take that out, we magnify it out in the levels of magnification to the ontology, to the nature of how we got here. My premise and my stance is, however we got here, whether we were created by the God of the Bible the God of the Quran, Allah, whether it was by Brahma from Hinduism, you pick your flavor, it doesn't matter, whether it was evolution and there was no intelligent design. However it happened, it's true for one, it is true for all. There is one ultimate truth regarding our existence. And if that's the case, and I don't know if you agree with that, but that brings us to only really a handful or two of plausible ideas. And there's really only two it breaks down to, of course, and I think you guys would agree with that at the fork in the road. You have evolution and you have creation. And
evolution has nothing to do with the origin of life. If you think it does, you need to go study evolution. It has nothing to do with the origin of life.
Well, it depends on what type of evolution you're talking about. Are you talking
no evolution has anything to do with the evolution or with the beginning of life. Evolution can only happen after life has started.
It's speciation.
That's not what they teach in the textbook.
Evolution is about the beginning of life. You need to go back and study and find out what evolution is.
Well, you're talking about abiogenesis.
I think you need to go back. I think you need to go back to the drawing
board. You are talking about abiogenesis. You're talking about abiogenesis, not evolution.
But the bottom line is that the truth is that I don't know how life originated.
Nope.
The difference is that I feel that I'm honest enough to say that I don't know. I think that the problem is that the theistic standpoint is that I know by faith. And if you go by I know by faith, then I could know by anything. I could know by the invisible pink unicorn or your God or the fact that we just got spit out of the nose of the giant Arkla seizure in Hitchhiker's Guide. But the truth is we don't know. And I'm not trying to tell you I do. And that's the fundamental difference, once again, between my accepting of evolution and you having faith and believing that you know the answers to these questions. And I can just say, I don't know. I just don't know.
Gavin, I'm going to give you the last word, but I'm going to give you the last word, but we're going to have to move on. So wrap it up for us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I absolutely agree that I take it on faith. I believe that without a shadow of a doubt, you guys have faith in the evolutionary process. We've never seen anything change on this planet from one species to another. We've only ever seen what the Bible has happened.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
No, we have not.
Yes, we have. We have seen the evolution of new species. Go look up Big Bird on Galapagos Island. That just became a new species within the last decade. Within the last decade. I just did. The big bird species on the Galapagos Islands. I just did. Go look. You're talking about stuff that you don't have any clue about. I'm sorry, Gavin, but we've got to move on. And obviously, you're not very caught up with what with the science of evolution. I would encourage you to actually go and study it. Don't study what other people say about it that don't believe it's real, but actually go study evolution itself from a scientific point of view. And I think maybe if you have a better understanding, we can have a better conversation about this. Okay, and
give me a chance to
before we take our next call, I do want to mention that we have an exciting new way to support the ACA. So check out this video.
Have you ever wanted to make a permanent impact on the atheist community of Austin? Help support our space for free thought by buying a custom engraved brick to be laid on the building grounds to help raise funds for improvements. Our building has stood as a beacon for years, bringing people together. But 3 years of emptiness due to the pandemic have taken a toll, leaving it in disrepair. Help us restore this hub of connection and support by buying a brick. Moses had his stone tablets, but we're doing our own version. Join our brick fundraiser and let your engraved messages stand the test of time, minus commandments. Visit tiny.cc/ACA bricks for more information.
Awesome. And we, just so you are aware, we are now accepting super chats, and we may read them live on the air. We will read them live on the air as long as they are acceptable. So feel free to have us read your things that you've written. As long as they're YouTube appropriate. And if you'd like to support the show, you can do so by donating to our Patreon at tiny.cc/PatreonTW. There's a couple of different tiers there, and you get your name shouted out there in the show if you donate, just like we did earlier. And you can also support the show by becoming a member. You get emojis in the chat. Your name gets highlighted in the chat. It goes from a really boring black color to a really cool me green. See what I did there? You'll be immune to slow mode, and it's all for as little as 99 cents a month, just 99 cents a month. So what do you think, Infidel? You want to go to our next call?
Yeah, well, one thing I want to say is that it does amaze me how consistently people misunderstand and misclassify evolution as some grand design of the origin of life itself, and it's not. But you obviously covered that. It just amazes me that we hear that time and time again. But I'm ready.
All right, I have Jack D. Ripper from Texas coming on. He says he knows about several pseudoscientific BS within his lifetime and can explain in detail. So what do you got for us, Jack?
Hi, Jack.
Well, I wouldn't say I could explain in detail, but good evening, gentlemen, Infidel and Kelley. I have a quick, since the topic tonight is crystals, I have a quick crystal story, if you want to hear it.
Sure.
Let's hear it.
Years ago, my business partner and I, we had a much younger employee, and I had a big, beautiful, clear white quartz crystal. And my business partner put this crystal in a young kid's hand and said, "Now tell me if you can feel that," which was the worst possible fucking way to do that experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you suggest to somebody, when you ask them, "Tell me if you can feel that," they're probably going to feel something.
Yeah.
So if he had taken an orange, a rock, a dead rat, and the crystal, and then asked him, "Tell me when you feel something," that would have been a much better question.
I agree. I agree.
From
There was
a suggestion, but of course the young kid said, "Oh yeah, I can feel it, man. I can feel it." So anyway, a couple of other. Does anybody? Oh, by the way, my name Jack D. Ripper. Kelley, you might be old enough to remember Dr. Strangelove.
Mm-hmm.
The movie? Okay,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what the name is. That's what the name is, and possibly the young infidel could remember could know about that.
I'm not young. I'm not far behind Kelley, so I'm not young.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so does anybody there remember iridology? Do you remember iridology?
That sounds vaguely familiar, but it's not. It's like ringing a bell in the back of my head. But fill us in. Maybe it'll click in my head.
That's where a therapist, a quote unquote therapist, could look at the iris of your eye and tell you if you had parasites by the color of your eye, and it's since become largely extinct. That's not done much anymore. There was also another thing I encountered about 40 years ago, and I think this originated in Great Britain, but quickly fell out here, where if you put water in a certain color glass, blue, green, red, etc., that drinking that water could make you feel a certain way, or heal you in certain ways, or whatever. It's right up there with phrenology, with feeling the bumps on somebody's head.
Right.
So that's really all I had.
The color therapy is kind of a popular part of crystal healing too. So like blue rocks will all have some of the same properties. So there's a lot of that in the crystal healing world too, as well, with the colors. I don't get it. I've never been. I mean, some colors move me. I think some are more beautiful than others, but never felt any healing effects from colors. So.
Well, I'm red-green colorblind, so usually it's the blues that make me feel better.
There you go.
So here's an odd point, if you wish to hear it. My ex-wife of 23 years just passed away last week. And
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to hear
very
that.
suddenly and unexpectedly. Thank you for that. Very unexpectedly. She had been out of work for 6 months, even though she was beloved in her work community. She could have gotten a job in 5 minutes with anyone who knew her. And her plan before she died was to move to Arkansas to help a guy sell crystals. Kathy was a pretty good atheist and a pretty good skeptic, but a little new agey. So we're thinking maybe, and apparently we don't have the autopsy results yet, but apparently she died of a brain aneurysm. And we're wondering if maybe her crystal leanings were part of a brain dysfunction. We don't know, and no one will ever know.
I guess it's possible. I mean, I don't want to say that because I myself believed in all of that 20 years ago, and I don't have a brain aneurysm. So I mean, it's an easy thing to believe, especially for people that. And now I don't know your wife's history, but a lot of people get into it because they've been through the medical system for a particular thing. Let's say back pain, and they've seen 5 or 6 doctors and none of them are helping them out. So somebody comes along and says, here, I have this crystal. It'll do everything you want. It'll make you feel better. They're using the power of suggestion, just like you were talking about. And hey, it only costs $20. So, hey, for $20, I'm going to try it. And then that power of suggestion, sure enough, triggers the placebo effect. And I feel, a little bit better. And I think a lot of people get into it because of that reason. Does that make any sense?
Well said. And, here's something I ran across this week. If you want to believe something, the easiest person in the world to fool is yourself.
Yep. Without a doubt. I mean, and there's a lot of people who look for things that, there's a void, whether it's real or perceived, and looking to fill that. And with someone who's willing to sell them a solution for that problem or that need, unfortunately, people fall for it every day. Even the best intentioned people. And I definitely don't want to pile up on your ex-wife because, I have no reason to think she's anything other than a good person. But some bad beliefs, and we all have bad beliefs, and I've had some really terrible ones in my life. So I'm definitely not going to blame it on a brain aneurysm, even though that would be a good excuse because there were some really terrible beliefs that were a lot worse than crystals. So I'm sorry for your loss, and I wish the best for you and your family. But the truth is that every day people fall for these things for just bad reasons.
Well, thanks for that. It was just confusing to me that all of a sudden Kathy went all crystally. She went all crystal, which doesn't fit her. She was a little new agey, but not to that degree. So anyway, guys, listen. I won't keep you. I love this show. Wait, hold on. Infidel. So you're a science guy, right?
I'm what now?
A science guy. I'm a geologist.
You're a science.
Well, yeah.
Oh my God! No wonder we're doing crystals tonight. Awesome. Okay. Well, I've tried to.
I'm just somebody who likes to run my mouth.
Well, who doesn't? I've tried to explain to people for years that because quartz crystals have a piezoelectric effect, doesn't make them magical. Could you speak to that for a second?
I can. They're not the only thing that have that effect. It is a lot of people think that that it creates enough energy to power watches. They think a lot of people who are in the new age ideas think that they use crystal radios are powered by something like piezoelectricity. It doesn't create that much power. What it mostly is good for and why they use it in watches is that it will regulate an electric flow. So it'll make it basically pulse like 100 times per nanosecond. And that way the watch can keep time. Right. So it's nothing magical. It's something that we know about. We know how it works, and that's why we use it.
No kidding. Gentlemen, I won't keep you any longer. Oh, by the way, the last guy Nathan proves that you can be very well spoken and articulate and still be really stupid. So nothing against Nathan, but boy, those were some bad arguments. Those were some horrible arguments. Just my opinion.
Since he's not here, I'm going to defend him for a moment. I definitely wouldn't say stupid, but I definitely would agree wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he is indoctrinated into what he is, and I've known a lot of people who weren't stupid that have been indoctrinated into things, and
I was worse off.
Mm-hmm. But I appreciate you calling, General.
Stupid was a bit harsh. I should say ill-informed.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right,
I would agree.
Gentlemen, I look forward to the next call, and thanks for taking mine. Have a great evening.
Thank you, General Ripper. Have a great evening.
Hey, bye-bye.
That was a nice guy.
Yeah.
He always is.
Hey, you can get really cool merchandise, including our limited edition t-shirt. Still wanting the truth after all these years, 50th anniversary 2018, the 5th anniversary 2018 to 2023. Visit tiny.cc merch ACA. And if you want to hear our content in audio only form, please visit tiny.cc/AEN podcasts for all the latest ACA shows. And I think with that, we are going to talk to Cooper, who wants to know if we're a doubting or becoming an atheist, should we remain skeptical to supernatural ideas? So, hi, Cooper. How are you?
Hey, Cooper.
I'm doing good, Mr. Laughlin and Infidel. How are you two doing tonight?
Great. Good to have you on the show.
To be on the show. Thank you. Yeah.
No. I guess to me, the answer to your question would be, how are you defining skeptical? And I would define it as somebody who looks at a claim in a very rational manner and looks for evidence of it. And if he sees enough evidence, he will accept that claim. So in that, using skeptical in that way, yes, I think we should remain skeptical to supernatural claims.
Kelley said.
And Infidel, would you agree?
Absolutely. That go where the evidence leads, wherever that takes me.
So, but why? I mean, why remain because I'm trying to get out of faith in a religion, and I would say I admire people like Christopher Hitchens who say we kind of need to maybe make the hard road of it all and say no, we shouldn't believe in God. We should exonate the supernatural beliefs because they are irrational altogether.
Well, I would say that once again, I alluded to this early in the previous call, it gets down to what you're defining as God, because when you're talking about some generic classical God, once again, it's kind of hard because it's once again a finding it to define it. Now, when it comes down to specific gods, that's a different story. I think that the hard road is to be rather dismissive towards those gods, because complacency and allowing people to continue to believe something without those ideas being challenged is, I think, a little bit, I wouldn't say dishonest, but we definitely would be taking the easy road to do that, which is why my personal experience is I'd rather be in your face, not yours personally.
Right. Now, Kelley, do you think that is there a range of skepticism that we should be in? Like, for example, like when it comes to rainbow, like pixie farting out universes, maybe that's something that we should less consider than, say, a anthropomorphic God creating universe person.
So let me see if I can understand the question. Are you asking me if there are some things that don't require skeptical thinking? Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, like your universe farting pixies. I don't really consider that, as often it has been said and used as an example. I don't think that that's a viable answer to the origin of the universe. So I would not expect to find any evidence for that whatsoever. So I'm not going to bother to look.
Right. So you would say that there is a level of skepticism that we should affirm and use when analyzing certain supernatural claims and beliefs.
I would say there's a level of gullibility that we should use before we apply our skeptical beliefs.
No,
I would have to say that I feel that, to me, skepticism is the way to start out, and it's like I'm not from the show me state, but that's pretty much where I exist in my day-to-day life. Until you show me it's true, I just have no reason to take it serious. That doesn't mean that I don't have a responsibility to try to find out what's true, but if the evidence just isn't there, there's really no reason for me to take it serious or seriously entertain the thought. It's just a navel gazing session.
Right. And that's where I'm at now in my questioning and doubting phase and deconstruction phase. I'm just like, well, all these God claims really don't seem to meet their burden of proof. But like, I'm thinking now I'm in the phase where it's like, should I remain skeptical to them? And then like, if I do, I'm afraid that will draw me back into all that level of thinking again. You know what I mean?
Are you using skeptical like open-minded? Like should you remain open-minded to the idea of a God, right? Is that the way you're using it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That puts me on a better footing. Thanks. I try to be open-minded about God, any God myself. If the evidence was there, I would totally probably accept it if it was good evidence. I just haven't seen any good evidence for the existence of any gods at all. So I kind of gave up looking. I'm not even sure that we can define what God is. I'm more of an atheist myself. I don't think that any conversation about God is going to get us anywhere, because nobody has an unambiguous definition of what God is. Even the person in the pew next to you at church probably doesn't have the same definition of God. So I'm not sure we can ever have a meaningful conversation as a result.
Right. No, I'm in the.
And I would have to agree that when it comes down to specific gods, as I've said, those are rather easy to dismiss if you just look at the evidence. And I don't think we should ever be afraid to look at the evidence. You mentioned, keeping an open mind and afraid that'll draw you back into something you believed previously. I think that's what religion does. It tells you to close your mind, decide on something, and stick with it regardless of what the truth is, regardless of what the evidence says, regardless of any other circumstances. I think it's safe to be open to it, because if it's true, then we should never be afraid of that. The truth isn't something to be afraid of if we can find it. And right now, I just think that in any religion I've ever ran across, when it came down to weighing the truth, to quote the Old Testament, it came up wanting. It isn't there.
I think it's good to remain open-minded, but to use skepticism to keep us from sliding into bad beliefs.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Well, guys, I think you answered my questions quite thoroughly, and I think it was a good and productive conversation. I thank you for taking my call.
I agree.
Well, thank you, Cooper. That was great. Thanks for calling. You were awesome.
Great call. Good night.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that went well.
Yeah, that went really well, right? That was beyond well. If you happen to be in the Austin area, October 29th, 2023, then please consider joining us for the live broadcast of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Toy boat. Yeah, I can talk. We were just talking earlier on the show about what a great time it was. Talk Heathen will be hosted by Christy Paul, awesome, and Johnny P. Angel, even awesomer. The Atheist Experience will be hosted by Johnny P. Angel and Sophia Spina. I'm not absolutely sure. Please forgive me, Sophia. I next time you see me, you can slap me. The doors open at noon, and we hope to see you there. You might want to get there a little bit early because parking is like a little tight, but it's not that far of a walk on a nice day. And what do you think? One more call?
I'm ready.
Okay. I have got, I think the next one along the line here would have been Isaiah from Korea. And he wants to tell us an experience he had with a fortune teller.
Oh,
Hi, Isaiah.
Hi. I do want to say first and foremost, first of all, thanks for taking my call. But I live in South Korea, and I am American, but there's a lot, and I mean like a lot of fortune tellers here that people take really seriously with their life. For example, for dating, and they base it not only off the zodiac, but like also like the Chinese zodiac as well, like your year of birth. So I'm a dog because I was born in '82. But I do want to tell you, like, I wasn't raised with any of that. So this experience that I had like really caught me off guard. And it's not specifically to do with crystals, but I'm a Christian, and I grew up in a really charismatic church, uber crazy charismatic. And that naturally, I saw a lot of really crazy stuff growing up. Speaking in tongues and people like feigning and stuff, and always talking about demons and the devil. So it really made me naturally skeptical. But when I came to South Korea, I was an atheist here. And I'm sorry, this is just bear with me like 30 seconds because
you're fine.
So I'm a member of like this website where people can stay with you from all over the world. I've hosted about like 300 people in my life. And so when I go to other countries, I can surf with other people. It's called couchsurfing. But I had this Chinese girl come into my house, and she asked to read my palm. She's a guest, and she's like, "Oh, you palm after I read your palm." And so I'm like kind of just chuckling inside because I'm like, there's no way this can be true. And so she started reading my palm, and she started rattling off like 7 things, like just back to back. And the funny thing about this is like none of the things were positive. She wasn't saying anything good about me, because I know sometimes what they do is they'll do like cold readings, or they'll just tell you stuff you want to hear, and so she started rattling these things off, and I don't know how in the heck this happened, like, because I am a Christian now, but she got them all right and was quite really offensive to me. So I had to stop her, and I was really close to kicking her out of my house, because it was like, not good stuff, but it just all happened to be true. And I'm wondering if you can give me any thoughts on that, yourself.
Infidel, you want to start? I have some thoughts, but go ahead.
Well, I was raised in a city that had a lot of supernatural viewpoints. I was raised in New Orleans, so the whole voodoo vibe was definitely a thing. And, some people are good, but as far as being right, to me, it's just a crapshoot. It was always more of a, okay, get your fortune told, do this, do whatever. And as far as me, honestly, I just kind of take it all as I didn't buy it then, and so obviously I don't buy it anymore now. But I get it; it's entertaining. That's really all I ever saw it as, and is some level of entertainment. Kelley,
unless they're bashing you, I got to say that was the thing that really threw me off, because she didn't have any incentive to lie as she was coming into my house as like a guest. And I honestly was genuinely shocked. Yeah, I was genuinely shocked that she was doing that. Like I genuinely was really close to kicking her out of my house. But actually, my girlfriend was there at the time, and I know this is totally a power suggestion. I give absolutely zero credence to the story because of this, but maybe she just saw me and my girlfriend did not have a good vibe. But she's like, yeah, you two are going to break up here pretty soon. So it was like, it was really uncomfortable. And we did wind up breaking up soon. And totally not related to that. But
yeah, she could have been picking up on the body chemistry between the two of you. Sure.
Right. Exactly.
And that was one of the things I was going to say. Like, I wasn't there. I don't know what the things that she said were. I'm not going to ask you to repeat them, because you said there were a bunch of negative things and they kind of pissed you off. So I don't want to know. But a lot of times fortune tellers will use generalizations that can fit different scenarios. So that's one of the tactics. And another tactic is, like we just mentioned, that she's picking up on some of the body chemistry between the two of you, and even off of you yourself sometimes. So I used to, back when I was really involved in Woo, I read tarot cards, and many people came back and had me read their cards again and paid me to do it, because apparently I did it very well. I don't think I was telling them anything that they didn't already know, or that I don't think I was getting any magical knowledge ever, but people seem to like what I did. So, I mean, there is some benefit to, I guess, that kind of a thing, because it makes people think in a different way sometimes, but I don't think that it's doing anything magical. And I'm not sure that, because I wasn't there, I'm not really qualified to say what happened in this particular instance. But I do wonder if she was picking up on some of the clues around the room, and if she was doing some generalizations for the other things as well. So,
and if I could piggyback for a moment, you mentioned one thing you did mention was a failed relationship being predicted. Well, the truth is that almost every relationship I've ever been in has failed, except the one I'm currently in. And the only reason it hasn't failed yet is because we haven't given enough time. If I live long enough, I'm sure it'll fail too, because that's just a reality of relationships. People change, things come and go. So if I were to say, I think the relationship you're in is going to fail, especially when you sound like at that point you're rather young, relationships at that point almost inevitably fail every time. So it's a safe bet that your relationship is likely to fail, at least.
Right. And I do want to give one other very quick additional story, because I was dating a girl here, and we were pretty serious, but she asked me my birthday and birth year one time, and I just gave it to her, like, not really, just, kind of just like a regular question. But then I guess her mom had asked her to, asked her for that information. And she had already had a problem with me because I was an American, so she didn't want me to date her. But she took that to a fortune teller, and then she came back and is like, oh, yeah, you guys are not going to be compatible, so you guys need to break up. But I was wondering if she might have just used that as an excuse, or because I'm being really serious to tell you guys this, because South Korea is a very, very socially, it's a very developed country, one of the top 10 in the world. Mm-hmm. And where I live in Seoul is just outrageously technologically advanced. But I swear you would be so shocked to see how many of those like fortune tellers are out there. And they use, as I said, they not only use your like regular, what we think of like the, like I'm an Aries, was born in April, but then they'll also go and they'll use your Chinese, like the Chinese have their animals, the dogs are 82, and then, they keep repeating every 12 years. So that is just something that it's genuinely shocking to know that people are still living their life and pursuing careers and relationships based off that.
That was a kind of a good example of the generalization I was talking about, the Chinese zodiac, that they, at least here in the States, and I don't know how long you've been in South Korea, but a lot of Chinese restaurants you go to have a little placemat with the zodiacs on it, and they got a little paragraph telling you what each one is. And they're all pretty general. I mean, they would fit like anyone. You could be any one of those 12 things and read that, and it would fit you.
And I've got to say that I'm a dog like you. I'm 1970, and my wife, hers says beware the dog, and mine says beware the dragon. So,
and she's a dragon.
I can't say it's going to last, but it's made it 23 years as of last month, and we'll see. So I guess they may have gotten it wrong on that one.
Well, she's a dog, and just really funny. I had my first daughter at 36. So I don't know why I never figured this out, but last week I went to, I just saw my daughter. She had the dog bracelet that my wife had got her. And I just put two and two together. I can't believe it, because she was born right in the Olympics here in South Korea. So we're both dogs. So dog with your wife. But anyway, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Well, thank you, Isaiah.
I've never really shared this. I never really shared this with anyone because, as I said, it was quite embarrassing. She was telling me stuff about like my finances and personality, and it's just one of those things that threw me off so much because it was so accurate. And I knew she had no reason to lie or make something up like that because, you know, she was a guest at my house. But
I think she was probably taking a lot of cues from your environment, especially if she was talking about like your finances. I mean, she could have picked up a lot of cues just about the way you were living, right?
Right. Uh-huh. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and you guys have a nice day.
Thank you, Isaiah. It was a great call. Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay.
Wow, Tim's 2 great calls in a row. How about that, huh?
Yep, that was pretty good. I was a nice guy, interesting questions, and I had a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to have somebody else to have fun with. Do we have another caller?
Yeah, we have another call, but I want to talk about the atheistcommunity.org. If you go there, you can find printable call-in flyers, and you can post these with permission to community bulletin boards so people know they could call our show and defend their faith in God, superstition, paranormal activity, conspiracy theories, UFOs, whatever they want to talk about. So yeah, I mean, go ahead and do that. Get these Truth Wanted flyers out there and get people calling in. And you can email Truth Wanted at truth@atheist-community.org, or you can reach out to the ACA at tv@atheist-community.org and see what's been going on our website at atheist-community.org, atheist-community.org. How could I miss that third hyphen? And there is a Facebook group. It's run by fans and it's for fans. So go to tiny.cc/FBTWG to interact with other fans. And we are going to take another call here from Sid. And he says the Bible and Christianity are true. Hi, Sid. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey,
How's the night going?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for taking my call.
So what you got for us?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I was wondering if I can give y'all an argument to follow Yeshua.
Sure, you can give us one. Sure.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I was just trying in the chat, so it's going to be repetitive, but it's basically a syllogism. It's one that the golden rule is the highest moral ethic, and then 2 that Yeshua invented the moral, the golden rule, and then 3, therefore, that would follow that he's the greatest moral teacher.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with your second premise right off the bat, because as I mentioned earlier, the Vedas are older than the Bible, and that golden rule is in there too. So I don't know that Yeshua invented the golden rule or came up with it, because it was around before the belief in him was around. So,
and also age, popularity, or even the fact that it's right, if something is true, doesn't get us to God. And I guess that's really the whole thing. We could talk all day about the golden rule or different aspects that we might all agree with that are good things or even true things, but it still doesn't make that leap to therefore God. And that's kind of where I am.
And really every religion in the world, almost every religion in the world has some kind of version of the golden rule. It's more or less, I think, a humanist thing more than the religious thing. That, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If you treat people nice, they're going to treat you back. I mean, nicely back. I always say I'm a selfish altruist. I do nice things for other people, so other people do nice things for me. Plus, every time I make the world a better place, I'm also making the world a better place for myself. So that's why I say I'm a selfish altruist.
And that's why Kelley's a better person than I am.
You can definitely be a good humanist.
Yeah. So, it seems like it's pretty much a humanist trope. I'm not sure how that
That's definitely a good point. That it doesn't prove that he's God, but I use it as a starter to kind of first to prove that he's a good moral teacher, and then you kind of build up to there to like the Lord, liar, lunatic apologetic.
I wouldn't be willing to go as far as is a good teaching good things, but okay, for the sake of a discussion, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I definitely haven't read all the Vedas. It's like a lot of stuff to read, but where in the Vedas does it state the good rule, the golden rule? Sorry.
You know what? I'm not that familiar with them. I'm not. I could give you some parts of the Bible, but I mean, I'll try to look it up for you real quick.
And
I know with
let me ask this question.
the Vedic,
let me ask you this question. If you okay, whether it's in the Vedas or not, would you stipulate that there are other religions that you would consider not to be true that do have something akin to what you would call the golden rule?
No, sir, because I would say that the Vedic religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, they have something called a himsa, which is like do no harm. So it would basically be like do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Which that's not the golden rule. What's called the silver rule.
Well, when you take something like Jainism and the level that they go to protect life itself, I think that I have a lot more respect for them and how they take their beliefs seriously. And with that in mind,
Jainism is like Buddhism on steroids.
Yes, and with that in mind, there are definitely religions that have no relationship to Christianity that I would say overall teach people to be better people than we'll ever see the average Christian or most Christian faiths teach. So with that in mind, if we're just going to go with how religions teach people to treat other people, I would say that maybe top 20 out of the top 20. But I honestly, I'm not really impressed. And especially whether there is a golden rule in the Bible or not, the application of it in real life among Christians, it's lacking to say the least. But I just don't find it a compelling reason to believe in a God, because this religion and that religion does or does not say don't treat people like shit. I think that that's an evolutionary trait that we should all be to at this point, and some of us better than others. And I just don't see where that gets us to a God, though. So what convinces you that this God that you believe in is real?
Well, it's funny you bring up Jainism because, like, I used to be an atheist, but like I kind of had a spiritual journey or awakening, whatever you call it. And one of the religions I actually looked into was Jainism, and I did think it was really cool. Like, they have a very huge emphasis on, trying to do as little harm. Like even they cover their mouths to not kill bacteria or something like that.
Walk at night, move, have all kinds of things. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but this way, I don't want it to come across the wrong way, but like you, I've looked at their beliefs and go, wow, these are some committed people to really trying to not harm not just other humans, but people in general. And I respect them for that. But I don't believe in their metaphysical and supernatural either.
No,
you get City. You ready? Are you going to write it down?
The one thing that I'll go ahead.
I said, are you ready? Are you going to write it down? Because I got it for you now. Mahabharata 5, 15, 17.
What does it say?
Do not do to others what would cause pain if done unto you.
Yeah, that's the himsa. That's the golden rule. Do no harm.
Yeah, and that's where you can find it at in the Vedas. Mahabharata 5, 15, 17.
Yeah, but I think that's an equivocation. That's not the same thing. Saying don't do evil isn't the same thing as saying do good.
I think you're equivocating. It's not the same exact words, but it's the same exact message.
Without a doubt.
I mean, I think you're equivocating because it's not the same exact words you're used to.
Well, like for example, like a baby follows the silver rule. Like they don't harm people. They don't, hit people or make people feel bad.
That's not what I just
they
said.
Don't follow the golden rule. They don't.
What
they
it
don't,
just said was, don't cause pain onto somebody if you don't want that pain to be brought onto you. That's the golden rule. That's it.
That's closer than some translations of the Bible would even come to it. I mean, there's more variation between Bible translations than that would fit that. And then you could read that from a pulpit and people wouldn't know that you weren't saying something from the Bible. It would sound completely acceptable as long as they didn't know where it came from. It's essentially the same thing.
The message is the same, just the words are
Yep.
different.
And not even that different.
That would be like saying don't hate people is the same thing as saying love people.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. I don't know. Those are two completely opposite things. I don't know how you even thought that would be equivalent. These aren't two opposite things. These are two phrases that are saying the exact same message. Don't hurt other people because you don't want to get hurt.
Right, but so if I was following Ahimsa, like I could technically not give to charity. That's not hurting people if I don't give to charity.
I don't know what that has to do with the golden rule.
rule.
I don't know. Understand what giving to charity has to do with this.
Well, if I'm following the golden rule, like I would be compelled to give to charity because that's something. If I was, destitute, I would want someone to give to me.
Okay.
But that would be applicable.
The whole idea here is to treat other people the way you want to be treated. That's the whole idea, right? That's the message that's being put across here. No matter what the words are, the idea is that you treat others the way you want to be treated. That's that golden rule is in like every religion, even the religions that are older than Judaism.
Yeah. I think we're quibbling over nuances of words and not really accepting that they're both trying to say the same thing. They're both saying, I mean, to summarize, this is the new King James version. Don't be an asshole, and that's a start. And to that starts with treating people the way you want to be treated. I don't see the disconnect there on treating people like they should be treated being a good thing just because they're saying don't be bad and one saying be good. The truth is, what is the opposite of bad? I mean, are we talking about find some middle line between good and bad, neutrality? There really is rarely anything that's in the middle. I mean, you're either doing right or you're doing wrong. Now, we may have shades, but that's what we treat ourselves and that's how we tell ourselves and get through the day. But more often than not, in my life, in my experience, even when I'm doing wrong, I know what the right choice is. I may do the wrong thing for selfish reasons. And that would not be following the golden or the silver rule, because in that process, I'm being selfish. And by being selfish, I am harming someone else. Does that make sense?
It doesn't, I guess we'll have to just agree to disagree on, the golden rule and the silver rule being equivocal. But can I ask y'all, forget that him being the greatest moral teacher, would y'all at least agree he was a great moral teacher? Yeshua?
Who?
Talking about Jesus?
Yeah, the Lord Yeshua. Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're talking about Jesus, if Jesus was actually one with God, then no, I would have to say no.
Yeah,
if God, the God of the Old Testament and Jesus are one and the same, then no.
No. Yeah. I'm coming at it completely from a moral, his moral teachings. Like, how would you rate them or value them?
I don't think that all the moral teachings within the New Testament are moral. So I don't know. I disagree.
And for me, I've got to be honest that when if I was going to rate Jesus on a scale of how good or bad he was as a moral teacher, I'd have to start with the fact that I'm not completely convinced he ever existed. So, but stipulating that and moving past the fact that he may or may not have existed, then it goes into I can't say what Jesus was or wasn't. I can only go by what the Gospels say, and the Gospels. there are some things that I can agree with. There are some things that I disagree with. Would it make him some moral leader that would rank to some level that deserves worship? No, I can think of people here in my lifetime who have been better leaders and better examples of what moral leadership was. I mean, to be completely stereotypical, you start taking people like Mohandas Gandhi, or you take someone like Nelson Mandela, whatever imperfections or you may disagree with things that they did, they were committed to something that I think taught something a lot better than I could ever find with someone following the tenets of the New Testament. And truth is that with the Gospels, I just find Jesus lacking a little bit when it comes down to morality, because he talks out of both sides of his mouth. You know, it's all about me. Forsake your family. That sounds pretty terrible to me, to forsake your family and follow him. That sounds pretty damn selfish.
Are you referring to the verses where he's like, if you don't hate father and mother, something like that?
Essentially, I mean, he's saying put me first, and that sounds a little narcissistic to me at bare minimum. To think that God comes before family is, I'm not going to try to be insulting, so I'm just going to let you have conjecture on what I would say. But no, I don't find anything moral at all at that. I would say, hey, Sid, love your family. Love your family first. Kelley, love your family first. All you people out there watching this show, love your family before your God, because your family will be there for you. And God, he doesn't tend to show up.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. He was either the biggest narcissist of all time, or he was God. You know, it has to be one or the other.
Or he didn't exist.
But is there? Well, yeah. Well, that could be a whole hour-long conversation, but
yeah, much longer than this call.
Can I get y'all's opinion? What's y'all's thoughts on the Lord, liar, lunatic apologetic?
I'm not sure I'm familiar with it.
I don't know who that is.
Is it the Lord was a liar or a lunatic? I'm not qualified. I wasn't there. I'm not a psychologist. I don't think I'm qualified to make that kind of a decision. I can see it. I mean, it's possible, I suppose. I just don't see any evidence for it.
And frankly, let me say this: Jesus, there may have been a guy, Yeshua, who walked around selling fish sandwiches and wine, sold it to thousands a few times, and traveled around doing a circus act. May have been a half a dozen of them. Either way, I have to stick with what the Bible says, and narrowing it down to just Jesus and the first four books of the first four Gospels, and part of the first chapter of Acts. It just really doesn't impress me, as I said before, on when it comes down to morality. I can find much better examples. Hell, I think I could find better examples of good morality in modern pop culture than I could Jesus.
Are there any teachings in particular you don't agree with or don't like?
Nazism.
You're talking about Jesus' teachings?
Yeah, from the Gospels. Any of his sayings that you don't like.
Well, I say that one that I take real issue with is it says, the Old Testament says that if you do this, if you commit adultery. But if you think about lust, you commit adultery. And making thought crime something that is sinful or evil is a terrible thing, because the truth is that we really don't have a lot of control on what we think. We have a lot of control on the situations we put ourselves in to be tempted, for the lack of a better way to put it. But things come into our mind, and I think that what makes me a better person is when I see and go, wow, that's a bad thing. I shouldn't do that, and don't do it. That's more moral than D to D and through the world and pretending that I never think anything bad, because I do. I think all kinds of bad things on a regular basis, and I enjoy it. Now, do I act on those things? No, I do my best to treat people like they deserve to be treated. So I think you're setting an unrealistic expectation, and you're setting people up for failure when you say, if you think bad thoughts, you're a bad person. You're a better person for thinking bad thoughts and not doing them. And that demonstrates that you're not a bad person, not thinking about it.
Do you, like many Christians, do you think Paul was speaking for Jesus?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, when Paul told slaves to obey their masters, even if they're cruel, that I don't agree with that. That's totally immoral.
Amen, Kelley.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But I know it
Yeah,
doesn't
verbatim right. Nobody notices.
slavery. Go ahead.
No, I'm just making a joke. I'm making fun of myself.
Yeah, if I could change anything about the Bible, it would be to add just literally have it say slavery is evil. But it does imply it in there. It talks about, like, if you can get your freedom, to try and gain it. So,
and it said that makes you a more moral person than the Jesus you're promoting as a great leader.
Wait. Where does it say that at? And wouldn't what Paul wrote, that if it came later, wouldn't that override what was in it first? So when Paul said, obey your masters, even if they're cruel, wouldn't that override the command to try to break free?
It's in one of Paul's epistles. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
So Paul was wishy-washy. He was telling slaves to obey their masters, but run away. I don't.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I gotta think about that.
Doesn't make sense. Well,
I think the whole point of oh, go ahead.
I would say we've actually gone a little bit over time, so I was going to let you have the last word and then wrap up the show, if that's okay with you.
Sid, let me say one thing real quick. As I said before, I want to stress, you are a more moral person than your God, because you said, if I could add anything to the Bible, you would make it clear that slavery is wrong. And I believe you. I'm in Team Sid right now on this. Mm-hmm. So that makes you a better moral teacher than the guy in your Bible you're wanting to worship.
I appreciate that, but I didn't invent the golden rule, even though we disagree on that. But
I do want to give you the last word, though. So go ahead.
Yeah, final word would be, as far as the apologetic I was talking about, it's something that C.S. Lewis invented like decades ago. It basically comes down to, you'd have to, have a whole conversation about it, but assuming the given that, Yeshua existed, he was crucified under Pilate, he was crucified because he claimed to be God. Given all these things, you're left with a trilemma, which is that either Lord, liar, lunatic. He was Lord. He really was God.
I don't even know if he existed.
Yeah, that's what I started with earlier.
I don't even know that he existed, so I can't say Lord, liar, lunatic at all. Lord,
liar, lunatic, or fantasy.
There's a scholarly consensus among Bible scholars that he existed and that he was crucified.
I don't know that that's true.
I disagree.
Like Bart Ehrman, who's an atheist, he says that he existed.
He says that there is some evidence for somebody named Jesus, but it might not have been the Jesus of the Bible, and we don't know.
It's a common name.
There's no definitive proof of the crucifixion at all.
I mean, it's a common name. I'm sure you could have found many people with that name running around the times. So, if a bunch of you,
there's extra biblical references to him, like Tacitus, and
not for 60 to 80 years later.
The idea that
we're talking way after.
Yeah, they're not until years, decades later. Even I'm assuming you're talking about Roman historians mentioning them. or mentioning that there was a
Mm-hmm.
worship of him. Yeah, that's not until like 40 years after he was gone. And all it says, and it doesn't say that Jesus was a person. It says that there were people who worship this guy Jesus.
And that's it.
And Tacitus talks about him being crucified under Pilate.
No, he doesn't.
That's it.
No, he doesn't. Go back and read Tacitus. He does not say that. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fair. But
All right,
it's more. I'll go ahead.
We need to wrap up the call though, so we're gonna let you go. And I really appreciate you calling in, Sid. I'd like to have you call back again and talk some more and continue the conversation if you want to. All right, I thought we had a pretty good conversation.
Sure.
We were pretty civil to each other, so.
I enjoyed that conversation,
and I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Sid, very much. I appreciate it too. You have a wonderful evening.
All right, God bless all. You have a good night.
Have you ever said to yourself, I really, really love the content the ACA creates, but I wish there was a way I could get it all the time? You know, we got you covered because now there are 2 24/7 live streams on YouTube. AXP TV delivers a constant stream of shows, clips, and specials from over 26, yes, I said 26 seasons of the Atheist Experience. And now Heathen TV provides you clips from Talk Heathen. You can watch or simply listen to your favorite hosts and discover some hosts you've never heard of. A lot of the old guys were awesome. A lot of the old men and women that were here. Visit tiny.cc/AXPTV and tiny.cc/HeathenTV to join in the fun. And I want to thank Infidel for being on the show. So where can the audience find more of you?
Well, I'm going to be on the next few nonprofits still. We did several with you recently, and
had a lot of fun.
That was an absolute blast. And also, you mentioned that 24/7 AXP live stream. Rumor has it that you drop in there from time to time, and I drop in there from more than time to time. So shout out to it. Yeah, it's a good time, good place to meet some people who are willing to debate issues and talk about things. So if you are missing the show, I would definitely suggest you check it out.
There is a good community in the chat room there. I will say that. And I want to tell everybody, stick around because we're going to be hanging out in the atheist community of Discord for the after show, which I would normally MC, but I'm not going to tonight. And you can join us there at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. And I want to thank Secular Rarity, who at the last minute came in and was our backup host today. Thank you so much, Secular Rarity, SR. We love you to death. We always do. And last but not least, I want to thank the crew. You know what? I should have thanked the crew right away because I missed them last time when I got thrown into the host seat. But hold up the crew cam. There's the crew. Look at them all. Yay! And they're the people that they're the real magic here. They're the people who actually create the real magic. So I want to thank you all, the crew, everybody who came and watched. And don't forget, we want the truth. We want to, what was it this week? It was, what superpower would you like that only annoys people? So let us know in the comments. Don't put it in the YouTube chat. Put it in the comments below. And we will read the 3 best of them next week. And that's it for tonight. I am your host, Kelley Laughlin. And always remember, keep wanting the truth.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.